Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I'm Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Sir Ezra, the Watchful. Welcome to Follow Up Friday. We are very glad that you're here. Just one of those moments in life.
It's it, man. This is it.
This is it, man. This is it.
This is, we already recorded the Sunday show, so, it's the last podcast Sir Ezra and I are going to record for the near future together.
Yep. It's crazy because we're also kind of like back where it all started too, like it's just weird how we're back here, like we're up in the Fortress of Solitude listening to music we used to listen to growing up, and just I don't know, man. Know, it's just, I don't know, guys.
It's a somber day.
I know it's a Friday, for you guys, but right now it's just,
yeah,
it's just tough.
I know. Think about
once this is over, Sir Matt's gonna walk out my door. He's gonna mount his horse and take his sword, his shield, and he's gonna head west.
King's Road.
He's hitting the King's Road, and I don't know. I don't know. I've been holding it together for a while, but now it's just like,
I know,
time has come. So,
so if this is the last, well, it won't be the last time you guys hear my voice because we recorded the Sunday show, so you'll have that. But we just recorded them out of order.
Good thing though, we like saved our energy for the Sunday show.
So if this is the last time I hear you guys because I wreck on the way or I get snatched,
wow, dude.
That's a real thing.
I know, man.
There needs to be more awareness for that because that's crazy.
You got to be careful on the King's Road.
You do.
And in
all seriousness, that is a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Every time on Facebook I go on Facebook, I feel like just more and more young girls getting snatched.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This whole trafficking thing.
Oh yeah. It's wild. And actually around where we live, it's been a huge issue. So
anyway.
But anywho. So yeah, I guess we should get
I'll
into
take my sword.
Yeah, you'll be protected. You'll be fine.
No. So.
And actually, you know what? It won't be long. I'm going to plan a trip out and bring the equipment, and so we'll get back out there.
Yeah.
We'll do a little face-to-face. But, and actually, I mean, as soon as you get out there, we're really chatting it up.
Oh, yeah. No.
But it's like...
nothing with the podcast is going to change.
This is not the first time.
I'm actually animated now. I'm good. I'm good. We just wanted to do something kind of funny for the intro there.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, because actually earlier though we legit were in that state.
I hurt my shoulder today. I don't know what it was, but
yeah, you were lifting it. You were lifting pretty heavy.
I've been laying around watching The Office all day, working on some theories there.
Yeah.
Who is the Scranton Strangler? I don't know. Okay, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But and we're not here to talk about The Office. We're here to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yes, we are. Yeah, and today we've got a. We promised you last Fall Out Friday that we would cover a couple Ravens from our good friend Lord Adam Parker.
Woo.
And we've got those for you today, and we'll see. We might have a couple, depending on how time goes. Also, because we do got to get Sir Matt's got to get out of here and pack, and he's got some other things he's got to do. But so we'll see how we're doing on time. But we might have a couple more Ravens at the end. We'll see.
And speaking of Lord Adam Parker, he was the trivia winner for last week.
Nice.
The question was, who kills Polliver? And in the show, it's Arya. But in the books, it is the Hound.
Wow.
So I was trying to think of something last week. I was like, maybe this will trick people up. Nope. Nobody got it wrong. Nobody got it
incorrect. Everybody did a great job, honestly. Yeah, we had Ty Strader was in there. We had a couple other people reply, so...
Yeah, Sir Robbie of Newcastle, however, is coming back from vacation, so everyone should look out.
Yeah.
And we were joking about maybe should we just post the episode at like 8 p.m. Eastern time?
We could.
Noon?
Yeah.
Just
noon, yeah.
Yeah, so.
That'd be wild. Give people a fair chance. We'll see. Okay, so Do we have when are we gonna save trivia? We're gonna do it now. We're gonna do it later.
Yeah, we probably should go ahead and
Get it out
and do it now. Yeah.
Okay.
So trivia for this week is: what is the name of the ancestral seat of House Reed?
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of the ancestral seat of House Reed, or AKA, what is the name of their castle?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Let us know.
Is it more of a castle or is it a fort?
Yeah, I don't really. No one really knows. Really.
Yeah, it kind of floats around.
It does.
Moves around.
Ravens can't find it.
Mhm.
You know, the enemy can't find it.
Yeah, it's down there in the swamps.
Yeah, it is. So it's actually one of the more interesting, I think, houses. And Howland Reed himself and his kids are super interesting. Because
Right.
they're, working with Bran, and they're supposed to be, friends to the Starks and stuff. It's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
really cool. Okay, we ready to dive into the Raven?
Woo! Yeah. Here we
Okay.
go.
So we're going to do the dragons in history first. Okay, so we'll just dive into it here.
Yeah.
Good morning, my good sirs. In our discussion Monday, and this was actually
a couple Mondays ago.
Yeah, because we saved this for a bit. But this was back when we were talking about dragons in the Daenerys chapter, and I think Sir Matt and I were talking about how dragons were still in a shy. We were talking about how like their origin story,
Right.
And so this is what that pertains to. So, in the Daenerys chapter, we mentioned the theories her handmaidens had on where dragons come from. I've decided to look to the earth again for some wisdom. Never forget, his words are from earth wisdom. I will give a brief description of A Song of Ice and Fire dragons, then discuss some theories we hear about dragons from A Song of Ice and Fire, specifically. With our help. Okay. Well, then I will explore as brief as I can dragons all over the world, keying in on areas where Gur has been known to draw from previously. Okay, part 1, A Song of Ice and Fire. I can never say that word. Characteristics of dragons. Okay. In a world of ice and fire, dragons are scaled, reptilian creatures. They have 4 limbs, 2 wings, which are used as forelegs, like bats. And is that kelp? Yeah.
There's a P in front of that word there.
A dinosaur. You're not supposed to pronounce the P.
Pterosaurs.
Yeah. Pterosaurs. Yeah.
Yeah.
and two rear legs.
He said Google them.
He did. He said to Google these beforehand. We didn't. It is said that dragons are fire-made flesh. Great heat comes from their dragon bodies to the point that they steam during cold nights. Dragons only eat cooked meat and use extremely hot flame, which they breathe to cook their meat before eating it. And actually we see that in the book several times, don't we?
Yeah.
When actually most recently in A Dance of Dragons, Dany is kind of living off of, I think, was it goats?
Yep.
Right? And so getting some of that charred meat, I wanted to say that word was pterodactyls, but it's not. Of course,
No.
Lord Adam, picked out one of these rare. I just looked at the dinosaur that he threw out there for us, and
Yeah,
still
it looks
can't.
like a pterosaurus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I've seen Jurassic Park like 50 times.
Okay, all right.
I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're an expert. You're an expert. I was never a fan.
Which is absurd.
I know people hate me for that.
It
but
took
it's okay.
me quick aside here.
Yeah.
It took me years to get Sir Ezra to watch Jurassic World.
I know.
And then you did, and you're like, "This is great."
I know it is great. I know. I wish I would have watched it more though in preparation for this Raven. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, they eat their cooked meat. Dragon bone is made as strong as steel, but lighter and far more flexible. All right. The lifespan of dragons is many times that of a human. And actually, so what was our dragon? Well, actually, he brings up a couple here. So, Balerion, the largest and oldest Targaryen dragon already alive when House Targaryen relocated from Valyria to Dragonstone in 128 BC, died of old age in 94 AC during the reign of King Jaehaerys Targaryen, near 200 years of age.
Yeah.
Yeah, so during the reign of the old king, Balerion dies, the Dread, right? Is that what we call him? Yeah. So, dragons are believed to be intrinsically tied to magic in the world. Since the death of the last dragon in 153 AC, summers grew shorter and the winters colder and crueler, while magical spells became less powerful. And that's a really interesting point.
It is. Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, in their absence, what has replaced, dragons,
Right.
or I guess I even think too, like types of magic. Is it
Right.
that all magic left, or is it that there's different, kind of that ice and fire magic, right? One side versus the other. Traditionally, Targaryen princes received a dragon's egg in their cradle, allowing them to bond with the dragon as soon as the eggs hatched. Unhatched eggs can become fossilized at an old age, as we see those petrified eggs
Right.
that Dany has at the start of the series. Could have been some of those eggs that were once in a Targaryen prince's crib, but they never hatched.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
Yeah.
you want me to take this part?
sure, yeah.
Dragon riders. Dragons are intelligent creatures who can be trained to serve as battle mounts and understand vocal commands. They are said to be unpredictable in nature and have to be trained to keep them from laying waste to everything around them. However, dragons will not simply allow anyone to mount them. In Valyria, the noble-born dragon-riding families, the dragon lord families, frequently married brother to sister to keep the bloodline pure, and it is generally believed that the Valyrian heritage plays a part. During the Civil War, known as the Dance of the Dragons, Prince Jacaerys Valerian called upon Targaryen bastards and their descendants, the so-called dragon seeds, to try and mount a dragon. Regardless, men without Valyrian descent made their attempt as well, nor is the possession of Valyrian blood, no matter how directly, a guarantee that bonding with a dragon will be successful.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Once a dragon has bonded with a rider, that dragon will not allow anyone else to mount it while the rider lives, no matter how familiar said person might be to the dragon, although they are willing to accept another person upon their backs when their own rider has mounted as well. When the rider of a dragon dies, that dragon can bond with a new rider. No rider has ever ridden a different dragon while his or her dragon was currently alive. Yeah, we see that.
Okay.
We see that when you have another person on the dragon with when Visenya goes to conquer the Eyrie.
Yep.
Right,
okay.
and then the young prince
Yeah.
comes out, and then the queen of the Eyrie at the time, because they were all kings and queens.
Royce
of their own.
Aaron or something like that.
Yeah, she is like hiding in the castle, and then she comes.
Right.
Well, she like comes out when Visenya lands,
Right.
and then she sees that her son is like, oh, I want to ride for the dragon, so she takes him.
Right,
On,
yeah.
Right. She takes him on a
Gotcha.
ride. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
The dragon and its rider form a bond. A dragon might be able to sense when its current rider is in distress or has died. This is implied in the case of the dragon Dreamfire, who, despite being locked and chained in the dragon pit, is said to have sensed when his rider Helaena Targaryen committed suicide in Maegor's Holdfast at the other side of the city. Additionally, when the dragon Drogon was hit by a spear, the dragon and its rider Daenerys Targaryen were said to have screamed as one. Sub-theory, Daenerys, Tyrion, Jon, and Bran are all the new dragon riders.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, I mean, Daenerys for sure. Tyrion, we see that in the show. We see that
right.
moment, right? Jon.
And Jon has a
obviously
moment,
Has a
yeah.
moment for sure. Can see that happening. Now Bran, though.
Well,
You said this in the
and I've
past
seen
that he just might.
he might warg it. He might warg into it,
Yeah.
which would be interesting. Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
All right.
Real quick here, just with the whole writer situation. It's interesting that oh gosh, what's his name? Yeah, during the Dance of Dragons, Lord Adam mentioned that they kind of opened it up to different
Right.
people and their blood and those different bloodlines and what have you. Is it? It's not even. It's so. First, you have to have the blood, right? You have to have.
I would assume,
that bloodline, right? And then how does one approach and form that bond, though? You know what I mean?
Right.
Are there
It says a bunch of people try.
right, and
when
they
yeah.
get they get eaten and burned and
charred,
all
yeah.
sorts of stuff. Yeah, so it's you got to have a lot of nerve to make that bond, don't you? and almost you would think be kind of assertive or have a. And every dragon's different too.
Every dragon's totally different. There's
Right.
the one in the Dance of the Dragons that they call the cannibal, right? And it's like he's even snapped at other dragons and stuff like that. And so they say some of the more mature ones, or like you try to get them when they're young and stuff like that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just interesting. It's a complex process, I think, and so one that we don't have a whole lot on, but nice to think about.
Yeah, common thrones myths about dragons. Doria said to Khaleesi the moon was an egg. Once there were 2 moons in the sky, but one wandered too close to the sky, and one wandered too close to the sun and cracked from the heat. 1,000 dragons poured forth and drank from the fire of the sun. This is why dragons breathe flame. One day the other moon will kiss the sun too, and it will crack, and the dragons will return. We know this to be a trader's tale and not true. When the red comet was seen throughout the realm, everyone was curious as to what it meant. Old Nan, who could be the only character to not lie, spoke. Dragons, she said, lifting her head and sniffing. She was near blind and could see not the comet, yet she claimed she could smell it. It be dragons, boy, she insisted. At Dragonstone, the red priestess Melisandre tells Selyse Florent the comet is dragon's breath. In King's Landing, the small folk city call it King Joffrey's comet, and servants refer to it as the dragon's tail. We are not sure as to why the comet occurred. It could be a coincidence, but we know dragons recently hatched when the comet was seen, and many individuals correlate the comet with dragons.
That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, first of all, Lord Adam, spot on with pointing out that Old Nan is the only one we can really trust.
Absolutely.
When we're trying to decipher the meaning behind the comet.
Right, because I don't think she ever tells a lie, but I do think she kind of doesn't know what she's saying sometimes. Well, I came here for a Brandon, but I can't really remember which Brandon.
Well, I mean, yeah, but she's,
Or maybe she does know, and she's just playing everyone like a fiddle.
Yeah. No, but yeah, she smells the comet too, right? Very interesting. But there's and the comet plays into all the different prophecies and stuff, and it's sort of this, sign that that these things, it's a sign that kind of these prophecies have said would come, and then it kind of gives a lot of credence to them, and then to the idea that dragons and magic are coming back into the world and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting. And Melisandre, saying that, also saying that it's dragon's breath, making that connection as well. The whole bit with the eggs, the moon and the sun, and that whole bit seems a little bit. I
don't know. I like that one.
I mean, I know you like,
because that's just one that's never really touched on. It was never really touched on ever again. So, but I don't know.
Yeah,
he talks about it early on in the books. So,
people used to believe the world was flat. All right.
Well, it is.
Well, I mean, all right.
I mean, prove me wrong.
Look at the horizon. I know. I'm just kidding. Okay, on to part 2, dragons around the world.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Every culture has some sort of depiction of a dragon. A dragon is a large serpent-like legendary creature that appears in the folklore of many cultures around the world. Beliefs about dragons vary drastically by region. The earliest attested dragons resembled giant snakes. Dragon-like creatures are first described in the mythologies of the ancient Near East, and appear in ancient Mesopotamia, art and literature. Stories about storm gods slaying giant serpents occurred throughout early and all Indo-European and Near Eastern mythologies. Okay. And then Lord Adam goes on to mention a couple different famous tellings of dragons in some of our ancient texts, right? So we have, some of these are unreadable for me.
The
the only one I know is Beowulf.
The Mushishu of ancient Mesopotamia, Apep in Egyptian mythology, Virtra in the Rig Veda, the Leviathan in the Hebrew Bible, Python, Ladon, Wyvern, and the Linnean Hydra in Greek mythology. Okay, wow. Jormungandr
That's a tough.
and Neohager and Fafnir in Norse mythology.
I'll tell you right now.
I'm sure Regine
is laughing.
And
her,
some of our other people from that region are like, what are you guys talking
Hey,
about?
you know what I'd love to hear is I'd love to hear them pronounce some of this in their own actual language.
Yeah.
Send us a clip of that, Regine, please.
Mm-hmm. The dragon from Beowulf, the dragon who was slain by Saint George.
Yeah, and so they're all over the place, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, dragons. My question is, when is our red comet coming?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when are dragons going to return, Sir Matt?
Oh, I think because
they're real.
Based
Clearly
upon,
they're real.
I am a dragon based upon my Chinese birth year. So
right, okay, yeah, good point.
So I was the dragon reborn.
Yeah, it would be neat to. I don't know. I've like the Chinese have a lot of different beliefs on the dragon and what have you, and there's just so much in text that it makes me kind of wonder, like, what was it? Is it real? Like, why do we have? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's scattered throughout all of our ancient literature and stuff. So, I don't know. Very interesting.
Well, I believe it. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Chinese history, but I know obviously they have a lot of references to dragons and things of that nature. I know Journey to the West, which is like a very big classical kind of novel about Chinese kind of history, which is actually what Dragon Ball Z is actually like draws. I mean, tons of things draw inspiration from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let me get back here to the Raven. I was opening up a couple of different tabs here because I want to pull up some stuff
Okay, I'll go ahead.
On dragons.
The popular Western image of a dragon as winged, four-legged, and capable of breathing fire is an invention of the High Middle Ages based on a conflation of earlier dragons from different traditions. In Western culture, dragons are portrayed as monsters to be tamed or overcome, usually by saints or cultural heroes, as the popular legend of St. George and the Dragon. They are often said to have ravenous appetites and to live in caves where they hoard treasure. The word dragon has also come to be applied to the Chinese lung, Pianlong.
Yeah.
I mean, he even has kanji there, which are associated with good fortune and are thought to have power over rain. Dragons and their associations with rain are the source of the Chinese custom of dragon dancings and dragon boat racing. Many East Asian deities and demigods have dragons as their personal mounts or companions. Dragons were also identified with the Emperor of China, who during later Chinese imperial history was the only one permitted to have dragons on his house, clothing, or personal articles.
Right. So something that's, held in
obviously
high regard and reserved for, those in power, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Part 3, Thrones in Real History. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some more connections here between the two, between A Song of Ice and Fire and maybe what Gur is drawing on. Apart from dragons themselves, to family houses using a dragon to symbolize their house, we look no further than the Targaryens' story. Sorry, look no further than Targaryens. And he says, sorry, Wales. The Welsh flag is a red dragon. The oldest recorded use of the dragon to symbolize Wales is a book written around AD or 829 AD, but it is popularly supposed to have been the battle standard of King Arthur.
I was about to say that.
And other ancient Celtic leaders.
And I will say right here, on the record,
okay,
that King Arthur is not just some myth.
Okay.
It's historical fact. We just haven't uncovered it yet. Okay?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Saying.
I'm with you on that. So it's the battle standard of King Arthur and other ancient Celtic leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Its association with these leaders, along with other evidence from archaeology, literature, and documentary history, led many to suppose that it evolved from an earlier Roman British national symbol. Okay. During the reign of the Tudor monarchs, the red dragon was used as a supporter in the English crown's coat of arms. All right, one of two supporters along with the traditional English lion. The red dragon is often seen as symbolizing all things Welsh and is used by many public and private institutions. Okay, all right. So this is all stuff I don't really, I knew that there was a lot of lore and there was a lot of different, uses of it in, that Celtic culture, but I didn't really, know much about as to, the specifics, I guess.
Right.
Okay, Gurlov's 15th and 16th century Europe. We can see many inspirations from Elizabeth of York, a.k.a. the Rose, War of the Roses, Lancaster family, etc., and her marriage to Henry VII, a.k.a. the Dragon. All right. Another Gur-inspired battle is the Battle of the White and the Red Dragon. In Welsh legend, the White Dragon was one of two warring dragons who represented the ongoing war between the English and the Welsh. The White Dragon represented England as opposed to the Red Dragon of Wales. Where did the myth of the dragon come from in the first place? Scholars say that belief in dragons probably evolved independently in both Europe and China, and perhaps in the Americas and Australia as well. How could this happen? Question. Many have speculated about which real-life animals inspired the first legends. Here's a rundown of the likeliest suspects. Okay. So we go through, he's listed off several here. I mean, what inspired the dragon? As Sir Matt just said, a dragon.
Absolutely.
Just kidding.
But yeah, we'll go ahead here and read through some of these. You have dinosaurs. Ancient people may have discovered dinosaur fossils and understandably misinterpreted them as the remains of dragons. Chang Ku, a Chinese historian from the 4th century BC, mislabeled such a fossil in what is now Sichuan province. Take a look at the fossilized Stegosaurus, for example, and you might see why. These giant beasts averaged 30 feet in length and were typically 14 feet tall and were covered in armor plates and spikes for defense. The Nile crocodile. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, Nile crocodiles may have had a more extensive range in ancient times, perhaps inspiring European dragon legends by swimming across the Mediterranean to Italy or to Greece. They are among the largest of all crocodile species, with mature individuals reaching up to 18 feet in length. And unlike most others, they are capable of a movement called the high walk, in which the trunk is elevated off the ground and a giant lumbering croc might be easily to mistake for a dragon.
Huh.
I'll say this real quick. There's a few things I don't mess with. It's alligators or crocodiles.
Right, yeah.
I don't want anything to do with them.
I know.
I don't even like going to Florida.
No.
I have family there.
No,
if you're from Florida, it's a beautiful place.
Right.
But I couldn't live there simply because of the bugs and the crocodiles.
I know it's one thing.
They have alligators there. But.
Well, it's important to know the difference. Sir Matt. So Sir Matt taught me a long time ago how to tell the difference.
How to tell the difference? Yeah, one you'll see later, and one you'll see in a while. Okay.
Right.
And I don't want to see any of them anytime soon.
Right.
So,
me neither.
So yeah, I could not imagine one that if I saw one walking off the ground, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I can see that. I can definitely see how you would see that if it's not something you had seen, or you see one walking, because I imagine it's going to be a pretty frightening thing anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's
ancient.
it's kind of like how some people see, maybe like a big bear, standing up on its hind legs, and suddenly they think it's Sasquatch.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it probably is Sasquatch.
Right.
But
yeah.
That's
Well, those the dinosaurs seems to be is one of the most convincing
for sure
to me. Just the fact that it's finding those fossils and looking at how big those are compared to us. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Something like that used to walk around here.
Well, and the other thing is we are uncovering new and we still have a few more to get to, but we're always uncovering new species and new fossils and new things. Like, hey, we just uncovered this as we dig in archaeology. I mean, we have no idea.
No, we have no. nada. And how do you know that this
even look at what we think about dinosaurs now compared to like 50 years ago. Now we're like, well, they were probably actually feathered.
Yeah.
You know
right,
what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. So
all right. Continuing on here, the goanna. Australia is home to a number of species of monitor lizards, also referred to as goannas. The large predatory animal have razor-sharp teeth and claws, and they are important figures in traditional boroganal folklore. Sorry. By the way, we're butchering tons of things this episode. So.
Oh, Aboriginal.
Sorry. Okay.
I wasn't
there we
reading
go.
along with you. Sorry. Aboriginal.
That's okay. Recent studies even indicate that goannas may produce venom that cause bite victims, wounds to develop infections after an attack. At least in Australia, these creatures may be responsible for the dragon myth. Whales. Capital O. No, I'm just saying. Others argue that the discovery of megafauna such as whales prompted stories of dragons. Ancient humans encountering whale bones would have no way of knowing what these animals were, sea-based, and the idea of such gargantuan creatures might well have led people to assume that whales were predatory. Because live whales spend up to 90% of their time underwater, they are poorly understood for most of human history.
Huh. And
then here he even has the human brain. The most fascinating explanation involves an unexpected animal, the human. In his book, An Instinct for Dragons, anthropologist David E. Jones argues that belief in dragons is so widespread among ancient cultures because evolution embedded an innate fear of predators in the human's mind, just as monkeys have been shown to exhibit a fear of snakes and large cats. Jones hypothesizes that the trait of fearing large predators such as pythons, birds of prey, and elephants have been selected for in hominids. In more recent times, he argues the universal fears have been frequently combined in folklore and created the myth of the dragon.
Huh. Well, think about like if we want to create something in our minds that is, that we wouldn't know how to either handle or deal with, or like if you're creating a scary story, the human mind can we create all sorts of sci-fi crazy stuff.
I mean, I don't, however, need sci-fi horror movies to tell me to stay away from snakes.
No.
I will say this. I watched this video on Facebook the other day of some guy had to save an alligator in Florida because this like 12-foot python had like wrapped itself around it. It's like, I don't want to be near either of them.
Why are they saving?
I don't know, man.
I mean, people
but some
are gonna...
but there are the like anacondas and stuff like that, the snakes that are so large.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, if you do look at a lot of pictures of what we assume dinosaurs look like, I mean, that to me, I think of all of them is probably the easiest one to like draw inspiration of what a dragon may have looked like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why though. Maybe they, even back then, may have initially thought that it was more of a, like, what we think of today as like a reptilian-based creature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's always been the case.
Yeah.
With dragons, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like the crazy.
And also where the idea that they breathe fire. Maybe that's just some sort of like mythical kind of a thing.
Yeah, I wonder if all the legends actually all said that they breathed fire.
Yeah.
I wonder if those ideas are developing.
Fire is kind of always this kind of somewhat like a scary thing, and it's just been combined to things over time.
Wouldn't it be interesting if, like, in different time periods and in different places around the world, people, like the dragon keeps reemerging, and it looks the same, it's described the same, and it's breathing fire in all those different scenarios. It's sort of like, did they just hear about it from the other culture, and so they thought, oh, that's a scary monster we want to kind of duplicate in our own?
Right.
Or is that, is there something else?
I don't know.
So, wow, we're starting to sound like, I wanted to say ancient alien theorists.
I know. but though, when you look at when you look though at some of the different depictions of dragons, and Lord Adam Parker mentions this, like when you think of how dragons are kind of depicted in Chinese culture, they are more snake-like, right? Like they're usually like these much longer, dragons, and they usually have like short feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're always in. At least it seems like in the Chinese way of telling it. They're really long creatures, not like it is in, European history where they're kind of more like tank like, right? You know what I mean? Like there's just a difference in the way they're portrayed.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I thought I would pull up some interesting stuff here from the wiki and just various stuff about dragons. One thing that's interesting is the different houses whose sigil depicts a dragon.
Oh yeah.
Right. So House Blackfire, and House Targaryen. Those are pretty.
Oh, you're talking from the yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking from a song back to A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Just thought it would be kind of neat to go over who those were. Blackfire, Targaryen, House Tolan, which actually I believe is the one. Isn't it the one where they're from Dorne and like they changed their sigil because it was a dragon chasing its own tail?
Okay.
Because they kind of like oh gosh, here let me just click on it real quick.
Yeah, pull it up. It's like an Ouroboros.
Let's see. I'll show it to you real quick here. Yeah, so it's so House Tolan of Ghost Hill
kind of.
is a Dornish noble house sworn to Sunspear and one of Martell's principal bannermen. It is also the seat of Ghost Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see the history here. So during Aegon's conquest and the First Dornish War, it was Lord Tolan had sent out. Yeah, it was that champion, right? Who was not really a champion. So he sends out this champion basically to buy time. Kind of a Last Jedi Luke Skywalker reference.
Mm-hmm.
And Aegon slew the man. He learned that the man was Tolan's mad fool, and or Tolan himself had escaped. In later days, they actually renamed. Or I'm sorry, they took a new banner showing a dragon biting its own tail with the color green and gold in memory of the motley fool, their brave fool, that kind of bought them time and helped them to escape. So that's one of the other houses. And so I knew about that one, but let me go back here because there's another one I didn't know about. House Vance. House Vance I thought was kind of interesting, and it's sort of split into a couple of different houses here, but it's House Vance of the Riverlands, and there's another house. It's split into two. It's House Vance of Wayfarer's Rest and House Vance of Atranta, I think. So, anyways, but both of them have like a green dragon on their coat of arms, a green dragon on a white field with a white tower on a black field. All right, so don't know much about them actually though. The Vances support Robb Stark, King of the Trident during the War of the Five Kings. Yeah, let's see. They actually have this guy. Let's see. One of the Vances is a companion to Edmure. So like a really small, house and a small mention in the series. But I thought it was interesting. And the house is split into two, which we can look at later as to why. So there's that, and then let's see, one more here. Another house from Game of Thrones, Willem. House Willem. Does that sound right? And they've got like a skeletal dragon, actually. It's almost like
cool.
Yeah, so you see that? It's got a skeletal dragon with 3 swords. So that's their coat of arms. It's a noble house from the Reach, and according to semi-canon sources, their shield, they have a shield with 3 silver long swords crossed on black beneath a dragon bone skeleton on a white field there. So, yeah, don't know much about them either. It looks like they were also mentioned. House Willem declared for Renly Baratheon in the War of the Five Kings, and this is a short little mention there, but just thought it was kind of cool, kind of interesting as to who would have a dragon on their, as a part of their sigil. Yeah. So, okay, all right. Anything else there, Sir Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking up kind of a history of dragons here on Wikipedia. Yeah, it is just really interesting. I mean, you just look at it. I think to me it does. Maybe it is. It's they kind of depict from this all of these different kind of histories, blending and stuff over time. Just here on Wikipedia, they're talking about, snakes, probably like snakes, dinosaur bones, and crocodiles seems to be like the three biggest things that kind of, people pull from in describing these inspirations, for the myths of it, which is just really interesting. And throughout history, Lord Adam Parker has actually kind of provided us here with just a lot of different. And I'm not going to read all of these, but just kind of skip over here. He brings up tons of just a list of many historical dragons. The Chinese dragon is a creature in Chinese mythology that also appears in Asian cultures. It is different, like I was saying earlier, depicted as a long snake-like creature with 4 legs. And he says, it may also sometimes have like fish things, or sometimes it has like horns of like a stag. Indian dragons, you've got it's another in India. So again, he says it's a more like serpent like thing. Maybe sometimes hooded like a cobra. So it's just interesting that the Asian dragon history is more like snake based, which I just find of interesting here. Muslim one. So now we're talking more Middle East. Again, a giant serpent like python. Indian one, again, kind of more python like. It's just interesting. It's all just kind of interesting what it all.
Do they all have wings on that list? I mean, he sent us a huge list.
He did.
They all basically
a
have...
lot of them do here. Korean, it says a hornless ocean dragon, sea serpent, great lizard.
Wow. I'm
just kind of skipping through here. European. So now when we get down to European, it is different that the European ones are more. They all have. This is where they all get more to have wings. Like a lot of the Chinese ones don't seem to have as wings as much,
or very big
or at
wings.
all.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Whereas the European ones tend to focus a lot more on them having wings, massive wings. That's kind of the bigger things here. And then when you get into some of these, the Welsh, a red dragon. He's talking about that. Welsh defeating the Iron Dragon or the White Dragon. Anyway, so just kind of sifting through all this. We'll have to ask him. I'm sure he's fine with it. With us maybe just posting this.
Yeah,
because it's an enormous document.
Yeah, actually, I pulled it up
once again, as always, Lord Adam Parker overwhelms us here with these. I mean, they're amazing. I mean, they're literally the amount of
12 page.
The amount of it's 12
page document.
The amount of research he puts in and
from the earth
like
wisdom.
That. Yeah,
from the earth.
And I mean, when you go out through history and you look at a lot of these different rulers, a lot of them do pick dragons as kind of like their symbol or sigil, and it's all over the world. Even a lot in China, even Europe. To me, the first thing I think of is actually like Eastern Europe. If you go back to like around the 1400s, that's what the first guy that comes to my mind is Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler. His dad was in the Order of the Dragon, which is actually this kind of like chivalrous knighthood.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and that's
like, pretty cool.
Yeah, and they were like, there's like I think it's originally started, and they were like nobility, and I thought they had something to do with the Pope. Like they were kind of like this like.
Of course they would.
They did. Yeah. There was like a military order of crusaders, and it's actually not like their symbol is not a dragon symbol. It's like a cross. And it's red and it's got like yellow kind of like wings on it and stuff like that, and that's just super cool. I love Vlad Dracul. He's one of the coolest leaders in history over there, and that's that's how the Dracula legend gets started and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay, just real quickly to dive back into some of the Song of Ice and Fire histories here. So if you guys want something fun, a nice quick little search-a-rooski here, just go to a Song of Ice and Fire wiki or Westeros.org and type in dragons. Mm-hmm. And basically, like, they've got known dragon eggs, which is really cool. They've got all the dragon eggs that are known. And so recently I thought just some of these, one that we come across in the Duncan Egg series is Lord Ambrose Butterwell's egg, which is red with gold flecks and black whorls on it. its whereabouts are unknown after what happened there with was that Mystery Night?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Mystery Night? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, Dunk gets to see that egg. Also mentions the 7 eggs that were used by King Aegon V in his ceremony that caused the tragedy at Summerhall. Some of these may have been the unhatched eggs mentioned above. They also, their whereabouts are unknown, possibly destroyed by fire. Possibly, I'll even add in here to the wiki, actually hatched, and taken off. Euron Greyjoy actually says that he had a dragon's egg, and he gave it to the sea. He threw it into the sea so that it could be sort of like a sea dragon. And then you've got, just a bunch of different mentions here. It actually goes back. There's probably like close to 30 some entries in here, and it talks about whether the egg hatched, and if not, then where is it currently located, or is it unknown as to where its origins are. Also has a list of dragons here that is super cool. You can go through and you can look up Sea Smoke was a famous dragon that Lenore Valerion and Adam Valerion, who was one of the, as you mentioned earlier, and actually Lord Adam mentioned as well, one of those who was like bastard born, comes back in and becomes a dragon, dragon rider. Sheep Stealer, who Nettles ends up getting, is another one of those characters. But it's got all of them. It's got them all listed in here, and so really nice to look and see who the multiple dragon riders were, and so on. So like Vhagar, super important, and you can see kind of who claimed Vhagar throughout her life. So
yeah, again, it's all super interesting to see where all of this history and stuff comes from, because we do know Gur loves to draw from all of this stuff. I mean, you can look. I mean, obviously, Westeros is totally like the United Kingdom, and then, it's just totally derived from that. And Essos is totally seems much more. When you get to the Free Cities, it seems much more like kind of Spain, Croatia, and stuff like that. And then it's just where he's clearly drawing from a lot of the histories to kind of use to for different regions and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't know. This is interesting. I mean, to me, I think this stuff is cool, and it's really neat to kind of think about and stuff. And I'm not, putting any of this stuff down or whatever. But this is definitely a Sir Matt. Like, I can tell you like it, and I know you've always really were super into this, type of thing, connecting it to the histories. What's weird is that I actually really like when I read a story. One of my favorite things about what Gur is doing is that he is building the history, he is world building, and we are getting more and more, to what happened in this ancient lore, in either when it's in a game or a book or what have you. I just think that's the coolest part, is to go back and really dig in. So I understand, I guess, why, you feel that way and others feel that way about our own history, know. So yeah, to me, it's like certain parts of it are super cool, but I don't know. Yeah. It's just neat. It's not something I'm real strong in, not an area that I really know a whole lot about. So I always like to hear other people kind of talk about it, and I like to read this type of stuff. I don't know that I'm real good at commentating on it, but it's definitely
for
definitely neat.
Yeah.
If you have more of it, I mean, I would love to see more of that kind of stuff in the group, because it definitely adds to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah. So. All right, well, we have another one. This one is not as long. This is kind of a Norse connection. Right?
Yeah.
And this was the first Ravens we ever got. And he like kind of touched on it, and so as I'm looking over this, I'm like, oh yeah, we kind of looked at this before, but so this is, I think he's like just fleshed it out here. And so in Norse, mythology, if the letter R comes after a vowel, you pronounce it kind of like Tyr, right? Or like Thor. But if it comes after a consonant, it's silent. So like Heimdall.
Yeah.
Like Heimdall, right? And but it's spelled like Heimdallr.
Right. It's funny. Lord Adam Parker, you sent us that little special note because you know that Sir Ezra struggles with his pronunciations.
Oh, God, I do,
but,
too, yeah.
You sent that, and I still tried to read through this list with that guideline, and I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah. And so here we go. There's just some connections to some characters and stuff like that. So it's always interesting. So Aerys Targaryen, kind of similar to Odin, the mad god / king, Robert Baratheon as Thor, storm god who wields a hammer.
Yeah.
Jaime Lannister as Tyr, a heroic guy who loses his hand to a wolf. That's not one I'm super familiar with.
Oh, wow. Though, I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Not that he does lose his hand to a wolf, but just the connection of, loses his hand and we have, dire wolves in this story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he does. I mean, theoretically, he loses his hand because he's
Because
captured.
of, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's just like it's not a wolf who actually cuts his hand off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jaime Lannister as Sigurd, blonde hair, blue-eyed Prince Charming. Wait, that's like two connections. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A blonde hair, blue eyes, Prince Charming type of a guy, a.k.a. the Dragon Slayer.
Nice.
Walder Frey as Freyr, a creepy old man who likes sex and has many children. Samwell Tarly as Heimdall, the smart one.
Yeah.
Cersei Lannister as Frigg, jealous of how pretty Freya is, goes crazy after her son Balder is killed. Marjorie Tyrell as Freya, the hot pretty girl who is loved by everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
Sansa Stark as Ilden, associated with apples. Plus Sansa is a type of apple, so there's that. Plus Ilden marries her father / brother's killer, and is taken to the mountains by some bird. Bran of Tarth as Brindle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shield Maiden who supports the wrong
Brindle.
king. Theon Greyjoy as Njord. And J-O-R-D, or where people are like, what are these guys saying?
Can
Sorry.
I please have Regine read this list?
Yeah.
To us? Oh my gosh.
Hostage of the gods that won a civil war. Jojen Reed as Kvasser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kvasser.
He even gave us how to pronounce this, and
I told you. I told you.
Has an answer for every question. His blood gets eaten when mixed with mead. Joffrey Baratheon as Balder, Frigid's son who dies. Tommen Baratheon as Vidar. The young or silent god Mance Rayder as Egther, a harpist who watches over giants. Bloodraven as Loki. Trickster causes Ragnarok, which is like their kind of Armageddon. Bran Stark as Faramir. Big Wolf who chomps off Tyr's hand, Loki's child. So that's definitely interesting. Daenerys Targaryen as Jormander, or Jormungand, I don't know. The dragon that wraps around the world. Melisandre as Hel, which literally is hell. Jon Snow as Sutir, leads group into battle, kills Freyr, wields a flaming sword. Sutir, which means black. Arya Stark as Skull and Hati, so kind of two things here. Two wolves, one who mocks and one who hates. Tyrion Lannister as Fafnir, a dwarf son of the richest man, kills his father.
Holy.
Yeah, so clearly he is drawing a lot here, or just you would have to say he is. Yeah, I mean, it's way
right.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rickon Stark as Garmir, a dog / wolf, doesn't get enough story time. Victorian Greyjoy as Hirm, captain of a ship. Hodor as Hodor, likes to hold the door. Just kidding, he dies. And Ragnarok. All right, so what is Ragnarok? It quite literally means the song of ice and fire. But what is a song? Is a song a battle? Do musical notes fight one another for dominance with no care or concern for the overall sound? No, that is discord. A song is harmony, notes working together in unison. And that is Ragnarok, the forces of ice and fire uniting as one to attack the words of gods and men. And that is key to understanding what is really going on in George R.R. Martin's epic fantasy series, A Song of Ice and Fire. Ice and fire may seem like opposites, but they also are partners and very similar. A frostbite has the same effect on your skin as fire burn does. The battle is not dragons versus White Walkers, fire versus ice, but it is dragons and White Walkers versus mankind. Fire and ice versus people. Prior to Ragnarok, the world is plagued by civil war, rampant immorality, particide, fratricide, and disease. A long winter that engulfs the world, known as Fimble. Try that one, Ez.
Fimbulvet.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm actually going to be right. Fimbulvet.
Yeah, because you dropped the R.
Fimbulvet.
Okay. 3 simultaneous winters without end. Winter is coming. before the ensuing apocalypse erupts. At Ragnarok, Jotnar, large beings not unlike giants who inhabit the realms of ice and fire unite. So on one side you have Loki, the trickster, and his monstrous offspring Farinir, the bound wolf, Jormungandr, and the world serpent, and Hel, the queen of the dead, to do battle with and slay the gods. All the major figures of the Norse pantheon are foretold, to perish in the ensuing chaos. Odin, the mad god, shall be swallowed by Farinir, and Thor, the storm lord, who wields a mighty warhammer, shall fall to Jormungandr. Tyr, or is it Tyre?
Tyr.
Tyr. Okay.
Because of the Y.
Gotcha. Yeah. The one-handed god of single combat shall be torn to shreds by Garm. Yeah, Garm, Hel's hound. Fair, the phallic lord of I'm just blanking. Fertility.
Yep.
Sorry. Shall fall to the fire giant Sutir the Black and his fiery sword. And Heimdall the Watcher shall die at the hands of Loki himself. When all is said and done, only the children of the gods shall remain, and Odin's son, Verdar, in particular, whose name means vengeance, shall tear Farinir's jaws apart and avenge his father, after which the world shall be rejuvenated and life shall start anew. And if that doesn't knock your socks off, Iceland is the country most associated with Vikings who believe in Norse mythology. Iceland is a country in the North Atlantic Ocean that is aptly known as the land of fire and ice.
Yeah.
It is an island born out of volcano eruptions over millions of years. Up to 8,000 years ago, the entire island was buried under ice slowly as the glaciers melted. They carved the island's spectacular valleys and fords, deep glacial valleys that are flooded by the sea.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, that was a lot. And he says, Skal, Lord Adam of House Parker. Skal or skull actually means bowl, which is used to serve beer, which one would drink and pass it to the guy next to him, saying Skal, which associates with enjoy this beer. So it stood in place for the word cheers. That was a lot of hard things to read. And I'm sure that anybody from that region is probably laughing,
insulted,
and I deeply apologize.
Can I tell you, we never had. I like ancient mythology, Greek mythology, Norse mythology. Those were not courses offered at Sir Matt and I's high school. I'll just go ahead and tell you guys that right now.
Well, I mean,
because they are offered where I teach, and
Greek mythology was.
Yeah, it probably was, but
Greek mythology was. But to go on record here, and we won't use names, but that teacher that taught that is kind of known in this area as a drunk.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, she had several DUIs while we went to school there, and
we were concerned.
Yeah, I think she's probably retired now, but so even had we a lot of people just stayed away from her classes, and she was the only one that taught it. So
I still don't think even if I would have taken
the education system failed us. That's why we're not more brushed up on mythology. Actually, I think you did learn. I think you learned all of it in that class because I think it was just called classical mythology.
Yeah,
but
there's
old
different units and stuff.
Yeah, we I don't want to say her name. That'd be rude.
Yeah, we legit have a classical mythology and then a world mythology, and the guy that I co-teach with spends a lot of time on like the Tree of Life and everything, and the whole bit, all the different stories, and does a really good job. I'm oftentimes in there just listening to the names and him talking about these different characters. All of these I've heard him say before and pronounce correctly, and I've just been kind of blown away, really. So he's a guy who gets like super pissed at like the Marvel Thor movies and stuff, and I'm like, come on. It's based on a comic book, but
right. I mean, I've definitely played some video games at some point that are like based around like mythology and stuff like that, like the God of War series, and oh god, I can't think of that name, but it was really bad. And but anyway, it was based around like the Norse mythology, and like a lot of these names, like the name Freya is a name I've seen used in like things, and like a lot of things draw inspiration from these things, but I've never specifically dived into Norse mythology specifically.
Yeah. Well, it's neat because you can tell that Gur has, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Just by reading this, I think that's the whole point, is that he's clearly drawn, he himself, it seems like, from his storytelling, must have liked this type of mythology.
Right.
So there's that. And a lot of the great stories, do pull from, they pull different elements from these mythologies and kind of create their
right,
own.
yeah.
Star Wars did that, for sure. George Lucas.
What
pulled those
are some
elements.
Star Wars comparisons, just so that maybe that way I might know them.
You mean from like mythology and stuff?
Yeah.
Just it's more like just the hero arc.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
that the archetype, right? So just sort of that inspiration, drawing from like the Force itself, right?
Gotcha.
This power. He didn't mention in here the like the life power
Right.
that Odin and Thor and those guys sort of like work in and believe, connected the universe.
Well, I mean,
but,
Luke gets his hand cat off,
but yeah,
and he is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Prince Charming kind of a guy.
Right, you're right. So there's
So there
yeah,
is.
there's that.
Okay.
No, I was just saying that those different stories
Gotcha.
draw from
Right.
those mythologies. Not that Game of
Right.
Thrones draws from Star Wars, but
I'm not saying that. I meant what were some things that Star Wars?
Oh,
drew
gotcha.
from.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
so-
yeah. I mean, so many stories today draw from any mythology or other like classical classic like you like Shakespearean stuff. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, how many stories today do we look at and say, well, this is Romeo and Juliet, just told in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And he mentioned earlier Beowulf, which is the only one that I'm really kind of somewhat familiar with there.
Right.
And there's a lot of different elements and plot devices and things from that story that seem like you could find bits and pieces of that in A Song of Ice and Fire. The crazy thing is with A Song of Ice and Fire, though, it's so vast and so
Right.
big, and he's done he's woven so many of these different things together that it is really unique, I think.
Yeah.
And kind of a blend of all his different things that he likes. And when I hear him talk about his writing style and how it just evolves, and I'm sort of like, he has an end game, but like, if it evolves this way in his mind, then there he goes. Like,
Right.
he just kind of, moves forward with it.
Right.
So,
Well, I've watched a lot of. I don't like watching bloopers of Game of Thrones because I just have a hard time with it because I associate those characters so specifically.
Yeah.
With those things, I don't like watching bloopers because
I got you.
But I don't mind watching some of the production things where they're looking at like the makeup artists or stuff like that. And one thing that I think the show does very well is the show. When you look at like their armor and things like that, it never really seems like it's clearly all like custom made and stuff like that, and it never really feels like, oh, this is clearly just like Victorian, plate armor or like Crusade. It all looks. I mean, even if you look at like the fight between the Mountain and the Viper, right? Like Oberyn Martell in the show, obviously. Is using this the way he's using his spear is it's like they base it off of wushu, which is this like Chinese or Asia, I think it's Chinese, like spear based combat, right? But even in the show, it looks natural, even though it would be taking place more in kind of like a medieval setting. You've drawn something from this Eastern culture, put it in this culture, and so I've just always thought that that's something that the show does really well, is that you can clearly see the inspiration sometimes in their armor and stuff like that, but it's not it fits its own world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't look like something. What you're saying is that we've seen in our on the History Channel or something like that.
Right.
That we're trying to replicate something that look. I mean, it does have like the same like there's. You were going over the different types of armor. Remember when we first with that YouTuber who was talking about the armor with you. It was just so there's that, but it also still looks like it's unique.
It looks unique. It looks like it's its own thing. Yeah,
right.
which I really like.
Yeah, for sure. So, oh boy. Okay. Anything else there on Norse?
Nope. That is it.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, thanks, Lord Adam Parker. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We're sorry if
he always sends us just these amazing, well put together ones. Well, sir, I do have a quick raven here. I think
sure.
We have time for one more quick one here. I just got this. It was a Instagram message.
Cool.
From T_bands_32. Hey guys, I just found your podcast right after I started reading through A Game of Thrones. I've gotten through about 10 episodes and it's been great. But I wanted to see what you guys thought about something I've noticed. I think it's cool how Gur is able to make inanimate objects characters of their own. specifically Jaime's missing hand. You can see how it reflects Jaime's true thoughts when he has to put on a fake face, right? Like it's just how like you see this a lot in the show, how Jaime, he's missing his hand, but he's still, he's trying to seem like everything's okay.
Gotcha.
And I think a chapter where I kind of noticed that is where when Jaime goes back to King's Landing and he's talking to all the knights of the Kingsguard, and he's kind of having his meeting with them, and you can just tell he's like really upset, and he's like, this place has gotten away, and then he gets that hand kind of remade for him, and it does totally alter his character, and it is almost like he is kind of two characters because he's missing his hand.
Right.
It drastically alters his character.
Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, another character kind of like that is Arya with Needle.
Yep.
Needle is something that she identifies with. It's actually becomes like a part of her, because when she's in the House of White and Black, like Black and White, she's always thinking back to Needle, right? And it's the one thing she didn't throw away, right?
She didn't.
She saved that.
Yeah. She hides it. Yeah.
And that's something that she kind of draws strength from, receiving that, and then her training with it and different things. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of other objects, different things in the story that would be kind of characters.
I would almost argue, certainly in the history. I mean, a lot of the weapons. I mean, Blackfire has its own story, and Blackfire, and then the crowns, right? Like like Aegon's crown as opposed to Aenys' crown, right? Where he gets that different one, or his mother's stuff like that.
Right.
So so there are definitely a lot of these inanimate objects which do kind of tell their own story. Ice tells a story. I mean, then it gets broken down into Oathkeeper, which tells its own story. So certainly a lot of weapons kind of have their own story and impact.
As you said, and I get, that Raven was sort of talking about, like it's both are true, okay?
Right,
but like it's the idea that something, the way he uses it in his writing style, like it actually speaks for the character in a sense sometimes, just in it doing its own thing, and it has like dual meaning and things like that. But back to your point about things that speak back through time and history are the horns.
Absolutely,
the horn of Joramun, and like that type of its history and what it means and things, and the power that it has and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to hear from that person some more objects. Some other objects that kind of.
The dagger definitely kind of tells.
Yeah.
Kind of, there's definitely like this like focus point about it when it comes, back and forth and stuff like that. And will it play a big part later?
Right.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of inanimate objects are obviously kind of symbols for other things. So I'm just trying to think of objects specifically.
Yeah, because it's almost like he's going beyond symbol. It's well, I mean, it is. It's a mix of both, but like just the way in which the example you mentioned about the hand, kind of. Well, it is. I guess it is. It's symbolizing what
he was.
Yeah, and also what he's going through too at the same time. I mean, it's heavy. He seems heavy-hearted now.
Absolutely.
He doesn't seem as light and free-spirited as he once did, and now he's wearing this heavy hand that's burden. It's holding him down. Even though it's a replacement, it's really cumbersome and not really. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't fit. So he doesn't seem to fit anymore in with his sister's way of thinking.
Yeah, or just how he used to think, who he was.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I think everyone kind of sees that with him, right?
Yeah.
Like when he trains with Bronn in the show, and then Illian Payne in the in the books. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. That's something I hadn't really thought about, and it definitely seems like it's when we do this close reading each week, like we come across like something that the way in which Gur writes, and like it's just like the line, Edar was in this past week was thinking about how how strange it was that Renly was into these different types of cloaks and armor pieces and things like that, and he thought the whole thing was just a bit queer.
Right.
And it's just like the devices that he uses to kind of foreshadow or hint or have dual meaning or to kind of lead you down a certain path is very interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else for this week?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Well,
yeah, maybe about maybe that might be a shorter episode this week, guys, but we're just kind of crunched for time this week, which is all my fault, 100%. So
I blame Matt for the entire
you should
episode.
It's all my fault.
Just so everyone knows.
Yeah, we started off somber, and then I butchered a lot of pronunciations. So yeah,
that's okay.
It's okay.
That's all right. Lord Adam Park can give us crap about it in the group.
He will. Yeah.
So that's all right. Well, guys, if you have Ravens, we did save several this week, so we are kind of like actually backlogging a couple. So some of you sent some in. We had to record early, so we're going to wait to address those until next week once Sir Matt is all settled in, and we'll dive back into A Song of Ice and Fire. We'll get right into the text. Really, I saw some of the Ravens. I've already read them, and they're good. Some good theories. We had a couple of new people who have sent in Ravens,
Absolutely.
so that's exciting.
Which is always great, yeah.
So if you're new, I'm sorry, if this is your first episode,
oh gosh, I apologize.
We probably should have said that at the beginning, but yeah, it is what it is. But anyways, hang in there. Go back and listen to some other episodes and things. It's no fault of Lord Adam Parker. It's just your host here.
All fault of Sir Matt, the bud.
No, me too. But anywho, yeah, send us those Ravens at btkcast@gmail.com, and we read those every Friday and go over them. Make sure the pronunciations are easy for us.
Yeah, we need the phonetics.
Yeah, we do. We do. So we'll go from there. But all right, I think that's it this week. We'll see you guys on on Monday for we'll continue our reread.
Absolutely. All right, and in the words of House Stark, winter is coming.